Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Zidua, the most trusted name in herbicides, providing Ohio's soybean and corn acres with up to 2 weeks more residual activity and broad-spectrum weed control. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg reporting. Well, after some crazy weather rolled through last night and rain, we went from a high of 78 degrees down to literally freezing, 32 degrees on the barn thermometer this morning. It looks like the rain is done, but the cooler temperatures should stick around for the next day or so. Taking a look at what's trending at OhioAgNet.com, brought to us by Timpte Incorporated. Timpte is now factory direct in Sidney, Ohio. From trailer sales to parts and trailer service, our team is ready to keep you moving. Stop in today or call them at 326-206-2062. With the increased adoption of no-till and cover crops, slugs tend to be an issue that is of greater concern than in the past. Kelly Tillman from Ohio State shares some different thoughts about ways to manage around slugs in the spring. You can read the full article now at OhioAgNet.com, as well as information about STEM camps. Ohio Farm Bureau's signature Ag Literacy and Workforce Development program, Explore Ag, is now accepting registrations for its 2026 camps, featuring an expanded lineup of the one-day experiences and a week-long immersive experience for high school students. Now, Greg Labarge and Rachel Cochran-Henry share information about the recent dust storms that we had and the impacts of wind erosion. Finally, railroad mergers are making agricultural headlines as our own Joel Penorwood caught up with Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition, discussing the possibilities of the Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern merger and what that would mean to agriculture. All this, as well as your latest in news, weather, and markets at OhioAgNet.com. This look at the Ohio AgNet newsfeed brought to us by Timpte Incorporated. Let's check in now with Ty Higgins as he has an update from last weekend's Ohio Beef Expo.
Last week at Ohio Beef Expo, a record was broken as over 23,000 cattle were sold during an online auction hosted from Columbus. Jason Barber is with the company that ran the auction, Live Ag. He talks about this trend in livestock sales going digital.
About every sale anymore has some type of online presence. Very few sales that they don't video the cattle ahead of time and put it online. And it's funny, 20 years ago when I started in the business, you go to a purebred sale and you'd have a great crowd there at 7:30, 8 a.m. Now you don't see that. You see a lot of people that get there on their computer, look at the lots ahead of time, kind of narrow it down. They get to the sale later and they go and look at the bulls that they've already kind of sorted through on their iPad. And it's shifting, but I don't think you're going to see it going the other way anytime soon.
Well, and think about the buyer base of this, right? You used to take cattle to the barn and you might have maybe that county or that region of buyers come, but now you got eyeballs all across the country, and that makes a big difference.
You definitely get a more national presence anymore, and that's one thing that we strive for, whether it's selling feeder cattle or purebred sales. We're located all across the U.S., and today it's nice being up here, and then UPI has a big presence on the sale, so a lot of cattle from this area.
For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins reporting.
Thanks, Ty. Let's get a check now of your Friday morning weather forecast. This weather update brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. You can learn more online at seedconsultants.com.
Colder air dives into Ohio today behind a frontal boundary that affected us last night and early today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. We are going to be seeing clouds give way to sunshine through your Friday, but it is colder. Definitely colder after the very mild air that was in here yesterday with the strong storms that popped up in parts of the state last night. You knew it was a major change, and so here we are, quite chilly for Friday. Drying down, though, with sunshine coming back. We are dry for the rest of the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and the start of next week on Monday. Temperature still chilly for Saturday, warming for Sunday and Monday. Next chance of rain shows up here on Tuesday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms. The pattern becomes a little more active than for the rest of next week through the 7th. However, the additional systems that are coming through seem to be varying on track. It's not like we're hitting the same areas over and over and over. Still want to say 1/2 to 2 inches of potential from Tuesday the 31st through the following Tuesday the 7th. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Hey farmers, planting season is almost here, and Ohio AgNet wants to bring lunch to your farm. Our Feeding Farmers contest is going statewide, and we'll soon be picking farms across Ohio to receive a visit from the Ohio AgNet and free lunch for your farm family and crew. If you'd like us to stop by, get signed up today. Just visit ohioagnet.com/feedingfarmers to enter. Feeding Farmers is brought to you by Ag Revolution, Paradise Energy Solutions, and the Ohio AgNet. the voice you know with the news you trust.
Thanks, Ty. Let's check in now with Joel Penorwood as he has some updates on the latest in a proposed railroad merger.
This is the Ohio AgNet. I'm Joel Penorwood. Anytime anything happens with regard to transportation, how it affects the commodity markets, we talk to the guy that we have on the phone right now, and that's Mike Steenhoek of the Soy Transportation Coalition. He's executive director that way. And Mike, thanks for being here with us today. The topic, Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern, they're looking to merge, and there is a road ahead, maybe we should call it a track ahead for them, but it's at an interesting point, and some organizations have come out against that, including the American Farm Bureau, the Transport Workers Union of America, but would like to talk about the situation, how it can impact the American farmer. I turn it over to you.
Yeah, and it's certainly a potential transaction that is really eliciting really strong opinion on both sides, and understandably so, because what this would amount to if this transaction is allowed to proceed and be consummated is that for the first time in history, you would have one railroad company providing service from the East Coast of the United States to the West Coast. And so there's a lot of potential ripple effects of that. And there are a number of railroad customers, including a number of agricultural customers, who have expressed support for this potential transaction because there's this potential of having more seamless rail service from one area of the country to the next. The current dynamic that we have is you have a couple railroads with networks predominantly in the east, that's Norfolk Southern and CSX, and a couple that are predominantly located in the west, BNSF and Union Pacific, and of course you have the two Canadian lines that have trackage in the United States as well. But as a result of this current scenario, you have a number of handoff locations from the eastern carriers to the western carriers. Chicago is a good example of that. Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, a number of other locations. And one of the fundamental axioms within supply chain is that handoffs are expensive. They're costly. Freight does not like to be treated like a baton at a track and field relay race. So the more you can mitigate or eliminate handoffs, that does portend a more seamless, efficient system. So that's what we're hearing on the pro side. Now on the areas that those who are concerned about it, who have expressed reservations and opposition to it, is that there's this concern that you're going to be all of a sudden reducing the number of transportation providers competing for your business, and in our case, agricultural business. And one of the things that we as shippers, we certainly aspire to is having as many transportation providers competing for your business, because that's usually good for the customer. And so all of a sudden you have this prospect of reducing the number of transportation providers competing for your business. And what that usually results in is more of the negotiating influence shifting away from the customer, agricultural shippers in our case, and more to the transportation provider, and this would be the railroads. And so that's something that is a real concern for a lot of shippers. You have rail customers that are expressing strong opinions on both sides. You're hearing labor unions on both sides that are expressing potential concerns. So our big point that we have is that this process, and now it eventually will be determined by what's called the U.S. Surface Transportation Board, the government agency that has jurisdiction over any kind of merger, acquisition, consolidation within the rail industry. The process needs to be transparent, it needs to be thorough, and it needs to be by the book. And that's something that we are really insistent upon that occurs.
Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. Always good to have him on here offering his perspective on things that are happening around the world that affect us close to home. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel. Always a pleasure.
Let's catch up now with Joe Everett as he has information on this summer's upcoming Explore Ag STEM camps.
The Ohio Farm Bureau's signature program, Explore Ag, is now open for registration for its 2026 camps, offering free hands-on experiences for students interested in agriculture and STEM careers. This year, Explore Ag is expanding with more one-day regional camps across Ohio and a week-long camp at The Ohio State University, ATI, in Wooster. Students will get a chance to explore fields like food science, precision agriculture, animal science, natural resources, technology, and ag business while visiting farms, co-ops, manufacturers, and college labs. They'll also gain leadership skills through real-world hands-on learning with industry experts and educators. One-day camps run from June through August in locations including Greenville, Lima, Marion, Medina, Cincinnati, Athens, and Circleville, plus career-specific experiences in areas like veterinary medicine, ag technology, meat processing, and more. The week-long camp at Wooster is May 31st to June 5th. All camps are free, funded by the Ohio Farm Bureau Foundation, though a refundable deposit is required to hold a spot. For more information, go to ohioagnet.com. I'm Joe Everett for the Ohio AgNet reporting.
Thanks, Joe. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets as the Ohio AgNet continues after this. Are you looking for the latest in Ohio agriculture? Well, you can get it all in one place, the Ohio AgNet podcast. Join us as we sit down with farmers, experts, and ag leaders from across the Buckeye State. From the latest news to interviews that matter, we're here to keep you informed and connected. Whether you're in the tractor, the truck, or the shop, we bring the conversation to you. Search Ohio AgNet podcast on your favorite app or find it on Facebook or YouTube. Don't miss a minute of the Ohio AgNet podcast. Subscribe today.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Taking a look at your livestock news, the USDA's March 1 Hogs and Pig Report just came out, and with that we found that hog inventory was up slightly from a year ago. Now, the United States inventory of all hogs and pigs on March 1st, 2026 was 74.3 million head, and as we said, that's up slightly from where it was a year ago, but down 1% from December 1st of 2025, that according to the USDA National Ag Statistics report that came out yesterday. Breeding inventory was at 5.89 million head, that down 1% from a year ago and down slightly from the previous quarter. Market hog inventories were at 68.4 million head, up 1% from a year ago, but down 2% from the last quarter. Let's take a look at what's impacting the markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Learn more about marketing your soybeans with LDC at 574-566-2113.
Grain markets mostly higher on Thursday. Was there a good reason? No, not necessarily. The market's telling us one thing and one thing only here as of late. Hey, we're going to chase the headlines. And yesterday's headlines were, well, at least a little follow-through on the Trump-Xi talks in mid-May announcement that came late on Wednesday. But again, this back and forth on what's going on in the Middle East and how that is affecting the crude oil markets or the energy markets, that's what's really driving the bus, I feel, on the rest of these commodities. Soybeans up a little bit yesterday. Wheat was higher. Again, we have a dryness story in the Central Plains for hard red winter wheat, but it feels like we should be starting to run out of gas on that a little bit. I am seeing more rain activity next week in the Central Plains. However, it's either far west or far east. The central part of the Central Plains, central Kansas, central Oklahoma, central Nebraska, we don't see as much moisture there. Export sales yesterday were a nothing burger. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look at how your markets closed yesterday. This market recap brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, May corn closed down a quarter penny and July corn was up a quarter penny. May soybeans closed up 2 cents while July beans were up 1 3/4. May Kansas City wheat closed the day up 9 cents while May Chicago wheat was up 7 1/4 cents per bushel, and May Minneapolis wheat ended the day 4 1/4 cents higher. Turning our attention now to the overnight trade, May corn is unchanged at $4.67, but July corn is trading down a quarter penny at $4.77 3/4 cents. May soybeans are down a quarter penny at $11.73 1/2, with July soybeans trading a half penny lower at $11.89 per bushel. Wheat for July is up a quarter penny at $6.16 even, but wheat for September down 3/4 penny at $6.28. In livestock at the close, April live cattle were up 67 1/2 cents at $235.10. June cattle closed up 95 cents higher, $234.80. April lean hogs did close down 7 1/2 cents lower at $90.82 1/2 cents, but May hogs were up 20 cents at 95.75. Feeder cattle for April closed up $1.72 at $355, 7 1/2 cents, and May feeders were up $1.70, $351.75. This is the Ohio AgNet.